Yeah, but Roy, when he sees his pay slip, it doesn't matter whether you heard it or not.
Absolutely.
By the way, guys, we've had to let Enid go, but I hope you heard what she had to say about ORS. It's the perfect tablet for rehydration. There are different flavors. There's ORS for sport, ORS to boost your immunity, and there's ORS, Roy, that helps you for hangovers. It's all about having electrolytes in your liquids. Yeah.
And even recovery, like magnesium is always
magnesium, great for sports people, great for their recovery. So make sure
we move
you
around a lot as Kenyans, so
ORS.
could travel.
Available in all major pharmacies, in Healthy You, Good Life Pharmacy as well.
Jumuia.
And there'll be a team from ORS. They're at the hub today. The weather's not too great. The weatherman says tomorrow will be sunny. They'll still be at the hub tomorrow, where the Decathlon is hosting a sports festival. So if you're anywhere around the hub, go and sample ORS. Don't take our word for it. Go and sample it, and then make sure you stock up so that you are always hydrated. Now, the women's national amputee football team had an impressive outing in Colombia at the World Cup. Came in fourth, unfortunately fell 1-0 to Poland in the fourth playoff, which is fantastic, which means they could have actually been third. They could have been on the podium.
Would have walked away with a medal.
Great performance. And it's really, really unfortunate that the focus and all the discussion around the team is how they were, let me say, allegedly treated in Frankfurt, because in their own words, they were fine.
Okay.
They were not stranded. By the way, they were not stranded. Just to make it clear, they were not stranded in Frankfurt. What happened in Frankfurt is that they had an extremely long layover.
Right.
Extremely. That's why you saw them sleeping on those makeshift beds. But the real reason they were on those makeshift beds is because we did not get them, despite knowing their flight route.
Yes.
We did not get them Shenzhen visas.
Which would allow them to at least
which would have allowed them to get out of the airport and sleep in decent accommodation. So as much as my good friend Murkomen, whether Murkomen is my buddy, but we're not on speaking terms. Tomorrow we'll be on speaking terms.
In a relationship.
Tomorrow we'll be on we're like a married couple.
Today's meal by mouth, and then you're back to talking
to so he's right. They were not stranded. Their flights, their allowance, they got everything. But nobody anticipated or nobody was forward thinking enough to think that you're tired from doing duty from Kenya. If you have a long layover, what needed to happen
Karo,
for you to be comfortable? They simply should have been given Shenzhen visas.
When you normally, I've traveled, we've all traveled here, and normally when you get a long layover, either you want to...
Kenny, going to Nyeri is not what we're considering.
That is Rongai.
What we're considering traveling, you go to the airport and you fly.
No, I've traveled around the world.
Whoever caused you that, whoever she was, who made you travel around the world. Anyway.
So when you have a long layover, you're either doing you either want to visit the country where you're laying over, right? So you get a visa, or you're looking for a cheap ticket. It's either of the two. Because normally the cheap tickets are the ones where you can even, you have layovers of 10 hours, 12 hours, whatever it is. And that normally is just, the inconvenience is catered for in the price. So why are these guys being given such a long layover and they are not allowed into the country?
Okay, no, Kenny, I have no problem with getting affordable tickets, Remember, this is our taxpayers' money. I have no problem with getting affordable tickets.
The tickets should have got them the right to get out.
Yes, you see, if I'm going to get a long layover ticket, and whoever who is giving us a ticket, whether it's
Kenny, somebody here who booked their tickets in the first place, looked at it and saw on their return when they're tired, they will have a long layover in Frankfurt.
That's what Carl's point is.
What do they need to get out of the airport? They need Shenzhen visas. Can we go to a Shenzhen...
Just get a transit visa.
Germany embassy there. It's on Riverside.
Get a transit visa.
Get a visa from there. It's the bottom line is planning. How do we plan?
Carol, let me tell you what I think is lacking.
I think there's a
bigger problem. It's not planning. What is lacking is that there's no planning. There's no person whose job is to plan. There are certain roles that exist in certain ministries where like there will be a lot of travel. Sports, there's going to be a lot of travel.
For sure.
the other ministers have different things that your ministry needs. You need to make sure you've accommodated down to the last detail of what that ministry actually needs.
Yes.
And this is where the problem is. When we're doing events, you know that you're going to do an event or an experience. We know that we're going to host an artist. He's going to do this and his entourage, and this is where they're going to travel, this is where they'll have lunch, this is where... All that is so true because there's a role that actually accommodates that.
Exactly.
I clearly see here there's a certain role that's missing where there's someone who you tell, what's your job? Miniko in charge of the trip. So they make a general position that does
with
not
no
go,
real responsibility.
where everyone can blame the other. So you have the guy who anaitwa ako in charge of the trip. The second person is the assistant in charge of the trip.
Who does what his boss tells him to do.
Then
who's generally in charge of the trip.
Deputy assistant, Sigei as the assistant.
And the secretary of the assistant
in charge of the trip.
Right.
So there are no positions. So what I'm just saying is there's a lot of hierarchy.
Doing everything apart from their
there's
job.
a lot of hierarchy, but there's not enough specialization in people who are responsible for things. That's why you're saying you can't find someone to blame.
Who's responsible for visas? Who's responsible for travel?
Yeah.
You can't
Who has looked and seen how long that layover is? So Lufthansa, by the way, Lufthansa did all they could.
Yeah.
They went and found them space somewhere in the airport.
Yeah.
Got them at least the
got them those
beds.
makeshift beds and allowed them to sleep and rest. Yeah. Unfortunately, there was a Kenyan somewhere, the one who brought them food. He's the one who went and took videos and put bananas and things like that.
Yeah.
So to make it look like it was
proper hardship,
a big crisis, like you're in a camp of sorts, you know.
Yeah.
But it was simply a long layover that nobody, I won't say anticipated, because it's there.
Yeah, it's
that nobody took responsibility for.
No one took responsibility for. In this country, we all have to say, "Me have done my part. Me have done my part." Everybody has me have done my part.
But then we work for the check. We don't work with our hearts. We work for the check.
We have a problem in this country. How many jobs have we done currently over the last 2 weeks where I've done my part?
It's the order of the day.
Yeah. So that nimeimba
the other part is crumbling. It's not mine. It's not my job.
My part in the song, whether the rest of the song is bogus. I've done my part.
The bottom line, let's respect our sports people.
Absolutely.
Let's respect them a lot more.
Yeah.
The playground, all the sports, fun and games, and the hondo in between.
Playing the best music for hard-working Kenyans who are getting the job done. Spice up yourself.